Hello, guys, and welcome to the week number 13 of our course. We're almost done, almost there. Come on, hold on, hang in there. I know that these final weeks are really, really difficult for everybody. For you especially, I know, but well, as teachers also have certain difficulties with everything that we have to grade, prepare, analyze, etc. This video will be, the content, let's say, of the video will be quite short because basically we're missing one component to finish our lesson class. We have already dealt with warm-ups, with questions, with approaches to reading, with main activities, right? So today we're going to discuss a little bit about evaluation, right? Now, I want to be pretty clear about it. I am not going to teach you anything new about evaluation because you actually have a subject of that, yes, an evaluation. So you already must be sort of pretty well aware of the aspects to take into account, the methodologies, everything that is associated somehow to evaluation, right? So actually, what I want to contribute with in this lesson is something really short, and it has to do specifically with the literary component of the evaluation. So you should be aware already of how to evaluate the grammar of your lesson, how to evaluate the skills, yes, let's say speaking skills or the reading or writing or listening, how to evaluate the sub skills, all these different things that being in ninth semester, most of you, well, at least this is a subject of ninth semester, you should be already familiar with. What I would like to share, it has to do more with the part that is specifically or explicitly associated to the literary part. Okay, so how to evaluate that literary component, how to evaluate the reading that is exclusively literary, how to evaluate certain of the things that you mentioned or that you require to measure somehow, right? So for literary issues, basically I use mostly or most of the times 3 or 4, yes, that you can call techniques, methodologies, criteria, or something similar, right? So the first of them is paraphrase and context, okay? Let's say that you have already gone through the whole lesson and you have reached the final part. Now, evaluation is a constant process, right? So you don't really need to wait for the end of the lesson to evaluate. You can just do it throughout the rest of the lesson, from the beginning, in the course, etc. Right? Evaluation is a process. It should be done throughout the whole thing. But let's imagine that we're going to do the other thing first. So paraphrasing is really important as an evaluation tool. It is going to allow you to verify how the student was able to comprehend. Yes, remember that the enjoyment or the potential enjoyment has a requirement. Yes, and that requirement is comprehension. So the possibility of the student to say what he understood, what he sort of comprehended about the reading is going to be sort of guaranteed, or at least assured in a better way when the student is able to paraphrase. And well, you know what is paraphrase? It's basically saying the same thing or replicating or translating what he read or understood in his own words, right? It is, at least in my case, I think this is not such a good idea when the student looks for the specific answer in the text. Well, that is a lower order question that is necessary and a requisite somehow to understand or to get better or deeper comprehensions of the text. But hopefully, with the paraphrasing, you are going to require a little bit more, because if you're able to paraphrase something in oral or written way, um, it means that you fully or at least understood it to a degree in which you're able to replicate it successfully. So this paraphrasing is something very important in order to evaluate the let's say the usefulness of the literary part of the lesson. What about the context now? Remember that evaluating the context is really important. I mean, when the student may contextualize what he read, that is going to translate into a, let's say, better understanding. I mean, if there's a student who is able to provide the contextualization, so it means that he was able to comprehend in a correct way. Now, what do we mean in terms of context? Or exactly what is it that we can evaluate? So we can talk about geographical locations, we can talk about culture, we can talk about a specific time or moment or era. We can contextualize in terms of professions. Let's say that the protagonist or some character in the book had a particular job, and because of that he or she reacted in a particular way, or knew certain things, or spoke in a particular using some sort of technical language or slang. Well, different things. So if the student is able to extract, recognize, and probably transmit that sort of information related or associated to the context, so we can say that it was sort of able to comprehend at a deeper level. Well, that may be a first criteria. A second will be that of describe and discuss, right? So description is very basic. Yes, it's something that you actually can do without a lot of understanding, right? But also it really depends on the level of the description, right? Like how descriptive you are. And we don't necessarily mean details, yes, because, well, that could be a criteria, like to provide a really detailed description of a character, of an event, of a place, something like that, right? But more than that is like to pinpoint or to locate the descriptions that are or the details that are relevant. Depending on the author, sometimes we have a lot of description. We can spend 3 pages, and the author has just described the living room and the weather and the curtains, and nothing really actually happened in the story. Yeah, so are all those details of 3 pages relevant? No, probably. Well, again, it depends on the book. But what we can say, or what we can generalize with, is that being able to locate, to identify those factors that are really relevant is going to somehow translate into good understanding, right? Good comprehension. So that description is good. Now, discussing is something that goes beyond the mere comprehension. Proposing themes, proposing ideas, questions, agreeing with what the character is doing, disagreeing, criticizing the character, criticizing the author. Let's say in a way in which you could say, I do not agree that, I would have done something different, right? So that is a way in which we can evaluate somehow. And that is why the discussion ability has a possibility of let's say, giving us clues or manifestation of comprehension in the student, and that is why we can evaluate by means of a discussion. An informed discussion is not, just any random conversation. It deals more with this informed and somehow backed or supported discussion, supported or backed by the fact or by the information of the text itself, right? Finally, I would like to talk about two other aspects that may help us evaluate, and are those of evaluation and criticism, right? So, evaluate and criticize. Now, we're dealing with the evaluation of the academic product, right? But over here, this specific type of evaluation that is apparently redundantly but not evaluation is evaluating the situations in the story, in the narration, yes? What sort of moral messages that sends us? What sort of reflections the text provides? Because sometimes they are not moralistic at all. Like, can we find that text relevant for our life somehow? Why? Yes, or it's just entertainment? Hopefully it's not. No, hopefully it helps us reflect. It helps us somehow think about situations that we think are sort of similar in our lives. Maybe situations that let us take a look at problems from another perspective. I don't know, different ways, and probably the ones who took Formas with me, Formas Discursivas, would remember that one part of the superstructure, of the narrative superstructure, was that evaluation. Yes, so that is what you can do when you read a paragraph, a text. I mean, and this is going to be evidence of comprehension, of understanding as well. If you're able to evaluate the situation since an objective point of view, that would be like the best way, or since or from a subjective point of view, from your opinion, very, with your heart in it, that's a possibility. So that has to do with the evaluation part. What about the criticizing part? Well, in this case, let's say, is going a step beyond the discussion, right? So in the previous part, some minutes ago, we were discussing about description and discussion. Well, this criticizing normally has a higher academic component, so you can sort of study the theory about that particular book or that particular phenomenon, theory related to figures of speech, some other texts that other people have written about either the text or the topic spoken about in the text. This is something much more formal, let's say, because it is not only your opinion and it is not only your experience. Well, in this case, your means the student's experience and a student's opinion, but also what other people have said about it, some authorities and things like that. So sure, you can, for example, as students, to write a critical review of a book or of a tale or a fragment of a novel or something like that. And if they are able to provide that critic, and well, it depends on the level of the student and its abilities, etc. Well, there is another way of evaluation, right? If he's able to write a solid text of providing a solid oral interview or speech, even though he's not saying page by page what is happening in the book, it actually provides a better and more successful understanding and instrument of evaluation than the typical low order question. That is one of the things that has harmed the most this exercise of reading in school and the university. Like, it's the eternal question of what happened and what was the name of the character, and all these different things that are not so relevant as some other things might. So that's it, guys. Those are like the elements that I specifically could provide for contribute a little bit with the evaluation that is not let's say teaching related but literary related. You should know and you should include the other ones as well. Now, how to do this? The sky is the limit. There are 1,000 different ways to do it. You can write you can ask, as I mentioned before, the students to write a book review, a tale review, to provide a speech about it, to make a simulation of a TV program where there is one guest who's a specialist in literature or tales or the author, and simulate this role play. You can sort of do certain games that provide this elaboration of alternative endings, and because of that it will provide these different things. You can, for example, simulate a trial where one of the students can play the role of a character and he's accused of something, and then in order to be saved, he will have to defend himself, and that will be a reflection of the evaluation and a reflection of the description, for example, of certain things. Well, there are a lot of different things. I leave that to you. There are different possibilities, but that is what I just wanted to the part I wanted to finish with in the lesson plan. Of course, you can do it in the class. You can do it at home, like delivering homework. You can reinforce both things, do a little bit of it in class and then another thing in at home, and things like that. You can do it through workshops, through the typical fill in the blanks exercise, multiple selection, open questions, closed questions. Well, there are 1,000 ways to do it. So guys, with that, we're finished, and you are able to finish as well your lesson plan, right? So that is going to what I'm going to dedicate this second part of the video, and it's to explain the format of the final lesson plan. We have already worked a lot on preparing this, and I think this has been the best way because it's a long exercise, and it's better like to have some progress than do everything in the end, and that will take time and it will be exhausting, right? So hopefully most of you have already started with the material that you're going to use, and you will keep it until the end, right? So if you can be so kind and go to the video, there's an attachment over there that's called Format Final Lesson Plan, right? So I'm going to describe it at a very general way. As you can see, it has names and dates, so please include over there the names of all the members of the group and the date. It says title and author of the material used. Yeah, so over there you're supposed to write the name of the tale, of the poem, of the short segment of a novel, whatever you're going to use, and put it over there. So you write the name of the material and you write the author. Yes, that's it, so I can know exactly what is it that you're going to do. There's some information in the parentheses that says attach it at the end of the document, consecutively numbered. So I am asking you to please attach this into the same document. So a picture or text, copy and paste the text that you're going to use. And if you go to the page number, let me see, to the page number 3, there is a space for attachments. It says attachment in there, and it says include here your attachments consecutively numbered, attachment 1, attachment 2, attachment 3. Okay, So what you are going to do is that the first attachment that will be here will be the material, right? So you write in that page attachment number 1, and then you attach what you have to. Okay. Then in the third line says this. It says genre. So you're going to please write over there what is the genre of the material that you're presenting. It may be maybe a tale, a poem, a play, an excerpt or a chapter of a novel, or a fragment of a poem, or a fragment of a tale, or a fragment of a play. Well, there are 1,000 possibilities over there. So simply you're going to put it in there. Let's go to the question number 1. The question number 1 says, provide a description of each one. So there are different aspects over here: A, B, C, D, E, F until the I. Sorry, and the idea is that you are going to provide a description of that. Okay, it says, remember in the points A to I, you can simply copy and paste your format production if you have been working with the same material. So this is the advantage of having selected your group, your population, and everything else in the past. Because over here, if you have been hardworking and you have been dedicated, well, this is ready. Yeah, you only have to cut and paste, maybe make some little adjustments from some previous homework that we had. Yes, we have homework about internalization potential, if the genuine context is provided or not, motivation potential, etc. Right? Here applies the same. For example, the ones of you that said that literary criticism was not going to be used, so simply put that again and say why not. But basically this is hopefully for most of you a copy and paste thing, because you have this already done. Okay. Now let's go with this that is relatively new, but it's not really, because we have been working on this as well. This is just like completing this format, right? It says complete the lesson plan information. Be as precise as possible. Here you can also use the former work if you have worked with the same material. So again, we have worked in warm-ups, we have worked in questions, we have worked in main activities, evaluation, etc. Right? So you simply have to include this information over here. It says, remember to include everything you are going to use for the lesson: pictures, formats, workshops, videos, virtual sites, etc. as attachments consecutively numbered. So let's imagine that, as many of you have said, you are going to use a video. Well, remember to put that as a link over there. In the attachment part, and you're going to, whenever you're going to say it in the description of the lesson, I will use the video Pepito goes to school. Well, you put like a footnote over there, number 1 and number 2 or number 3, and that should be as an attachment. That you are going to use a workshop, that you're going to use pictures, you're going to use a game or something like that. Well, please include that into the attachments. Make sure to include every part of the lesson we have studied, well, as I mentioned before: warm-ups, questions, reading approaches, main activities, evaluation, etc. So all of that we have already done must be here in the lesson plan. So what is it that you have to do? Let's say new. Well, know exactly where to put it. Yes, because here there is like a description of different things that we are supposed to include. No, so we have here subject course. So if, let's imagine that if your audience is a school, so it would be first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or any of the high school. If it is a let's say a language center, so the level, well, all these different things. Grade level, characterize the population. Please include over there the description of the population, the age, their language skills, everything else. Topic, the topic of grammar that you are going to include. Okay, remember that we're dealing here with literature as all these different things. You have already identified the skills, the sub-skills, etc. Okay, this name, date, and time, we're going to omit that. We don't need it for the moment. And then the length of the period, like how long it is supposed to take your classes. Then further on, you're simply going to complete all these different things in there, right? So just structure the lesson, follow like different ideas or descriptions that we have in there. Remember to include the times that you are going to use. So if it is a 40-minute lesson, so you're going to use each activity 10 minutes and the other 5. I mean, time them and label them in there. Find a way to include everything that we have done into this case. So I think it will be mostly a thing of, let's say, copying and pasting what you already have. I think that the only new thing or additional thing will be the evaluation part that we just are discussing right now. And for the rest, I think it will be really easy for you, hopefully, if you have worked so far in a good way and in a committed way. Yes. So it's a matter of distributing that you have in the correct ones. Probably you might need to write additional things. Sure, if there are certain things that are indicated in the lesson format and you really cannot find it, well, you will have to write it, right? But that's it, okay? So that is going to be the assignment for this week. Complete that particular thing. I am going to give you an extra day, just in case you need it. Probably most of you won't, but that's it. So I'm going to give you an extra day for this. And remember that we are going to have an interview about this, like in which you have to tell me about certain things, but that will be in the week number 14, next week, okay? A week in which we also have some other activities, but well, that will be for our next week. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much. Concentrate on this. You have been working the whole semester with this, so I'm pretty sure you know what you're doing, you know what you're trying to achieve, and it shouldn't be very problematic for you. Okay. So thank you very much. I'm here for any questions that you may have, and I'll see you around. Good luck with this. Bye bye.